There's hoses, there's fire, there's bombs, there's blood, there's stabbings. Sirens are going off, and these guys are beating each other up in the gym. And I mean, the craziest shit you could see, man. I'm talking like guys pulling out toothbrushes and guys in the gym beating people up with dumbbells. And I'm talking like guards storming in with body armor and hoses and batons. And, you know, I ran to the bathroom and I'm just wedged up against the wall, like trying to keep these guys in who are just trying to like literally pull me out and beat me up or sexual assault me or whatever. They're just trying to get to this guy. I don't even care. It's just, you really know where you are. Like, you're not at home anymore.
Our talk today takes us on an extraordinary journey into a world of redemption and transformation with our guest, Aaron Humble. From a path steeped in the dark corners of illicit activities to a life of impact and educational outreach. So keep listening and get ready to dive deep into this episode full of profound life lessons laced with the harsh realities of addiction, crime, resilience, and one man's unending quest for a better life. What's up, everybody? My name's Dan, and this is Hard Knocks Talks, your mental health podcast. What's going on, Aaron?
Hey.
So is there anything you'd like to say before we jump in?
No, just want to say thanks for having me. And yeah, don't mind the nerves, but I'm sure I'll work through it. And yeah, I'm an open book. Let's do it.
Let's go.
This is Hard Knocks Talks.
All right, if you are struggling with the substance use of a loved one or have tragically lost a loved one to drug-related harms, reach out to Stronger Together Canada, peer-led support groups by Mums Stop the Harm. If you are in search of private inpatient addictions treatment, check out Prairie Sky Recovery Centre located in Leipzig, Saskatchewan. To make contact or learn more about today's sponsors, check out our new merch, or if you want to show us some love and buy us a coffee, help us keep the wheels on the track, all of those links are in the show notes below. You ended up in prison on some things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I thought only criminals went to jail. You seem like a nice guy, man. What happened?
I don't know how it came to be. You know, I was in a bathroom in Alberta. You know, I was 18, 19. I met a guy at the urinal, the weirdest place to meet a guy. I guess that's where criminal enterprises start. But yeah, I met a guy in Alberta, and it turned into smoking a joint with this guy. To next thing I know, I'm a wheelman, you know, and I'm driving, you know, products here and there and bags of items, this, that, and the other to this spot or that spot. And then, you know, just, yeah, from 15, 16, 17, it, you know, was sort of property related and just kind of bad decisions, bad people, not really thinking things through. Got into a couple of little hiccups with the police, but yeah, it didn't really kind of cap off until I was 19. And like I said, I was, you know, yeah, just into some bad shit, leaving names and people out of it, but just into some bad shit, and just found myself in handcuffs, man.
Growing up, good household, sports, 18, 19, at a urinal, then you end up smoking a joint, and things go sideways. I mean, obviously, probably not at that exact moment.
Right, yeah, not at
it
that.
was the marijuana.
Not
it's
at that
gateway drug into crime, too.
It probably wasn't the marijuana,
but so, but what I'm curious about is, you know, growing up in that household, you know, oftentimes, even last week, our guest, Gary, Food Truck Gary, you know, he grew up around all that stuff, right? So, I mean, it was natural for him to get into it. With you, it's a little bit different. So what did your parents start to say? Like, did your family start noticing that your behaviors were changing?
Oh yeah, I got arrested, right? You know, when I got arrested, I was a minor, so they were notified, and they were involved right from the get-go, and it was a no good situation. You know, they didn't want that for me. They did everything they could to kind of help get me back on track, counseling, child and youth, doctors, just, you know, you're 15, you're 16, you're 17, you're 18, even 19, you know everything, you know, you don't want to listen to anybody.
I'm 43 and I still know everything.
You know everything. So it was, you know, they could do everything they could do as a parent could do. And I guess at the end of the day, it's trial and error. And, you know, some people make big mistakes and some people make, you know, little ones, right? But I guess I needed to really I really needed to hit rock bottom that way before I could really identify with things and see what was really going on.
So what was going, like, you were trafficking, right?
Well, yeah, it wasn't necessarily trafficking. It was more like I was transporting goods. But yeah, dealing with like organizations and groups of people that would be moving, you know, various items, whether it be drugs or firearms or.
Did you ever see the front line, so to speak? Like, were you ever face to face with the people who were buying the substances or the other things?
Yeah. Like when I first came up in 1920, when I before I got incarcerated, that's kind of when I was meeting people. And so obviously some higher ranking people in certain gangs and elements would, use my apartment or use my house to prepare items, or, bringing in lamps with stuff in them, or bags of stuff. So they would actually rent my kitchen, and, I'd play Madden in my room. And so, yeah, I wasn't in like the front lines, but I saw some of the dirt getting kicked up out of the ground for sure. Yeah.
So what did you think when you saw this frontline thing, when you saw the people who were consuming?
Yeah, well, it's the lure, right? It's the lure of, I think that's the psychological factor of it all, is that's the lure of why people, get into it. They see the money, they see the jewelry, they see the car, the watch, or the way people talk to that person, or those groups of people.
Power.
Yeah, street power, street respect. It would be, different in society, but I mean, it's a facade at the end of the day, really. But that's what catches you. That's what caught me, right? I mean, I went from Regina to Edmonton. I made like $8,000. It's the money, it's the power, the respect, the cutting through lines, the jewelry, the sweaters, the whatever. I mean, you name it, the girls, whatever. That's I think that's what captivated me from a young age. I mean.
The reason I ask, though, is not so much did you see the front line, is as in did you see the benefit that the people you were working with were receiving, but did you see the carnage and the addiction?
Yeah, no, I never saw none of that. I didn't even know what addiction was at 19, I didn't know that we had such a problem even in the world, right, with addictions and drugs and crime. It didn't even register with me. It was all just, like what was right in front of me, the money aspect, or the power, or the what I can have, or the what people will do for me. I never really saw that until, I got locked up.
How old were you when you got locked up?
19.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you burned fast.
Yeah, I always try to say swing for the fences in anything you do, I guess, and go big or go home. But yeah, I picked up those charges as an adult, and it turned into some federal time in Prince Albert.
You didn't see any psychosis. You didn't see anybody crash and burn. You never saw any of that.
No, I didn't see any of the carnage. I always saw like, it's the party.
The glamorous side.
The glamorous side. Oh, we're going out. We're having fun. We're shaking. We're grooving. We're making money. The parties, we're playing cards late. Like I never saw any of those. I never saw any of those things until like even just getting into outreach work, right? Like it was, obviously I saw it in prison and, the come up after that, but I didn't really experience some of this stuff until... Yeah. Like 5, 6, obviously you see it in the media, the news, the whatever, but like
that's somewhere else though. That's not in front of me.
Yeah. To be right in front of me, like where I'm actually seeing some of this stuff, it'd be more, that'd be kind of later in the story to where I am at community outreach now. But I didn't see any of the damage that I was doing when I was doing it, to the people, to myself, to my family.
Did you ever partake in, so it's strange for me, you get involved in all these things, and certainly there were piles of cocaine around you. You may have had opportunity, like Scarface, right?
Yeah, I've done cocaine. I've done it. I've used it. I've smoked marijuana, I've drank, I never really had I don't want to say it in like a defensive way. I don't think I ever had a problem with any of those things. They didn't really control my life, or I've experienced doing those things, never having an issue myself. I've had friends and family and some people work around addictions. I've lost people to addictions, but for me, I've obviously dabbled in some things, but luckily I was able to come out on the other side. I'm still alive and I'm not battling through anything.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that you were able to avoid that? Was it a fear of what might happen, or was it just that you just did not have the desire?
Yeah, I don't know. I just
rather make the paper.
I just want to smile and say it, but I lucked out. I never got sucked into alcoholism. I never got sucked into being, using stuff every day. I don't know if it was the paper, but it was the guys that taught me stuff, the guys I learned from in that aspect of things, was always, there's rules to things, right? You're not supposed to, you do the drugs you sell. You're not supposed to shoot the guns you're selling or moving. You're not supposed to mix and match, right? You're supposed to keep it about the paper. It's really about the paper, and so I just, the guys that kind of taught me that were older guys, like 40, 45, 50 year olds, kind of teaching. That's what they do. These older guys, they get younger guys and they get it in your head, right? And it's, so I guess I had good teachers in that aspect.
You're like, and we'll talk about this more, but I mean, you're an outreach worker now, right?
Yeah. I'm a community outreach worker now. I got 2 years of my BA in social work, and I'm a certified youth care worker too. So that's what I do now. I've been doing it about 3 years, working with people in the community, mental health, addictions, housing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what got me, to cut you off, but that's kind of what got me, in this direction.
Sounds to me like you had some power before you went in. Would you say that's accurate? Calling shots?
Well, I don't know if it was power. I think it took me a year after I settled into my sentence to kind of get that power, but that's kind of.
What do you mean get the power?
Well, what do you mean when you say I got the power? Like,
so I mean, like,
what do you mean? Elaborate.
Well, like shot caller, like you've got access to large amounts of different things, right? That typically comes with a certain amount of power. Typically you got guys underneath you doing things for you, stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't have any, I wasn't a shot caller. I was more of a bag and driver, I always say like a trapper, like a delivery guy. I'd get directions and pick stuff up and deliver it and get paid and pay guys. But no, I wasn't like a lieutenant or a captain or a shot caller from the movie on Netflix or nothing. But when I went to jail, I didn't know anybody there, and there's a pretty strict rule book there. But you don't really want to be answering to who you know, and do you know this guy or do you know that guy, or because you never know what they're into. You never know what trouble you might get into. I mean, believe me, I was in jail. Guys asked me, if I knew people from Regina, this guy or that guy, and it was always a no, or because you never know. You don't want to get stabbed or assaulted or stomped out or whatever. But
tell us about what it was like going in. Like, so you now hang on now. So like before you went in, you had a certain amount of social conditioning, right?
Yeah.
And so when you went in, was it still like, oh, I'm going to do my bit, I'm going to, and I'm going to be hard, and I'm going to come out and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing? Or was that like when the cuffs went on, did a light flip switch?
Yeah. When the last set of cuffs came on, when I was an adult, obviously the stuff as a youth, it's just juvenile shit. I mean, most people do steal cars, and
most people steal cars.
Most people steal a car or two, and do a beanie or two. But the younger stuff was whatever. But when the adult offenses came, like when those bracelets came on and they took me out to the correctional, and I was on remand there, and I had to call my folks from there. That's that was probably one of the hardest phone calls I ever had to make, and that is where the light went on. It'll take me to the correctional. I think they took me there at 3 a.m, which was totally uncommon. They usually take you to the Regina Police Service Station to do all the stuff there. You go to court, then you go to the correctional. They took me there at 3 a.m. Straight from the street. Right.
Wow.
They bypassed everything. Why they did that, I don't know. But yeah, it was 3:30 in the morning. I'm at the correctional. I don't mind telling you. It's like, I'm meeting this warden guy. I'm meeting this counselor guy. I'm asking the head of security to put me somewhere where it's safe. I don't know anybody in jail. I don't have a crew in jail. I'm not patched in anywhere. So I'm just just a white guy in jail. And it's like 4 a.m. I think till my first court date, I even asked to be put in West G. It's a kind of a special unit where, you can get locked up. People call it PC, but whatever. It's where people get scared, go. I mean,
PC.
Well, it's protective custody. I mean, that's what they call it. It's a jail term, So some people hearing it might say, oh yeah. I mean, maybe it's changed since, I haven't been in jail in 21 years. So maybe the titles and the slangs have changed, but that's where I asked to put me, put me somewhere where I don't have to deal with anybody.
Were you scared?
Well, of course. Yeah, I was fucking scared. Yeah. And that's kind of like I said, to answer your question, I ramble on a little bit, but that's where the light kind of, the light really hit me. Like, this isn't for me. This life ain't for me.
Yeah.
And I got to do everything I can to just better my life and start from the ground up. I essentially burnt my whole house down. Right to the ground, and that night was essentially where I started the path to rebuilding it, to pouring the concrete and rebuilding that whole house, because I burnt it down. I burnt it down. I burnt relationships and lost friendships and hurt people, and like I said before, I wasn't always the most humblest guy or the most honest or dedicated person. I was there was a period of time where I wouldn't even probably trust myself. So I've come a long way, but that initial night was really all I needed to.
Didn't get much sleep.
No, I didn't get much sleep that whole time.
So looking back now then, people typically burn their life down with substances, with behaviors. Now clearly yours was a behavioral thing. Yeah. What was it? What was the fix for you? Was it the excitement? Was it the power? What was it?
Yeah, it was all that. It was power and money and, being able to, buy gold teeth and.
Do you have gold? Did you have a grill?
Yeah, I got a grill. I can't wear it anymore, but I have a retired grill. But yeah, that's the allure of it all, right? You're cutting in lines at nightclubs. Your waiters know who you are. You're at the parties and no one will mess with you, and girls talk to you a little bit more. And so for a guy like me, I was shy really growing up. I was bullied all through high school. I wasn't treated the greatest. You know, everybody out there, you know, back in elementary school, they, you know, didn't treat me the greatest. You know, I had a tough come up. You know, my self confidence was lacking friendships. I didn't feel like I was a part of my own family. You know, so it's no wonder, right? It's no wonder. You know, you start dabbling in like light criminal stuff, and it eventually open up bigger doors to that life. And it's no surprise that I ended up hanging out with these people and ended up in prison.
So you got out when you were 38? Is that what?
No, I did 4 years and a bit. So 19 to 23 and a bit. And then I was on parole for almost a year.
So what were you in for? Like, what was the technical?
I don't know what the technical term would be. I'd have to I brought my pardon here. I could actually probably dig it up if you really want to know. But yeah, it was like a trafficking, a distribution. There was a couple guns involved, so some firearms stuff was in there. But I don't know how they word it, you know, in the criminal code. But
so what'd you start doing different then in prison?
We'll just go through the quick motions here. So when you get down to PA, they process you. So you go through like security, you strip down, you know, you're naked, and they, you know, if you have any tattoos, they ask you about them. They write them down. They take pictures of you, whatever. Once you're processed out, they give you a tackle box with all your stuff and, you know, your fork, your knife, your blankets, your hygiene, and they take you to a place called Fishbowl. It's like a 6 to 8 week like intake section where there's like 10 cells, and they kind of put you like newbies in there. It's called the fish tank, and that's kind of where they assess who you are, if you have any gang ties, or you're an organized crime, or if you're just a first-time offender, or you just want to make it through, whatever. That's kind of where they assess you. And so, yeah, they assessed me over 4 or 5 weeks, and then they put me out on like a regular unit. It was I think A3 and 4. And
how was that?
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, they take you out of the fish tank. You get your shit. You walk down a line.
Yeah,
I learned this later. You don't ever look to the right or your left because it's called rubbernecking. And if you want to get beat up or stabbed or, you know, your head kicked in, you know, do that. But
so did you do that?
Well, I did it a couple of times when I first got there, and we can get to that later. But yeah, so you get to the block, and there's a yellow line, and the cells are labeled to the right, and you just go to your cell, and
that's it.
Welcome home, man.
Gets
you know,
quiet.
the door closes, and yeah, you're in your cell from 8 to 4. If you don't have a job, or you're not going to school or taking programming, so you're either doing something productive, or you're locked up till about 4, and then from 4 till 10, you're kind of free to move around on the range or the cell block, or, you know, go to the gym or go outside or whatever. But yeah, I started the journey like it was almost instantaneous. I got there, and I had to finish my grade 12.
Couldn't handle the quiet in the cell.
Yeah, I couldn't handle the quiet in the cell, couldn't handle the violence there. But yeah, my main thing was to get my grade 12, finish that, stay busy. So I got a job in like making clothes, like in the clothes department or whatever. Like I can't remember what it's called, the tailor shop.
Yeah.
I was a janitor there in the chapel for a while too. So that gave me like an out to deal with a pastor, and got me out of my cell a lot, took me to a safe place, gave me a chance to reflect. But yeah, just went in there, started working on programming and anything that in the federal system, you know, they can offer you a lot of stuff. In the provincial system, they don't got a lot of money.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of rehabilitation going on. You know, if you're doing, say, 2 years less a day, that's provincial. 2 years plus a day, that's federal. Take federal time either way. You know, if you're getting into trouble and you go into jail, try to get the federal. You can do more you can do more programming. You can take your schooling. You can.
Aaron is not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Seek independent legal advice before you do anything.
But definitely, yeah. But it's definitely like if you're doing time, you want to go to the federal, right? So I was able to have programming and work and school, and I just buckled down and got my grade 12 and worked and saved up all my money and tried to avoid some of the violence. You know, I was there a long time. There were 6 or 7 riots when I was there. Like, you know, a couple guards got really hurt. Some inmates died.
Yeah.
You know, my first time ever kind of down in the canteen section, I saw a really, really bad riot, you know, and tried to hide in the bathroom there. Guys didn't even know me. They were trying to roll on me. There's hoses, there's fire, there's bombs, there's blood, there's stabbings. You know, everything you see in a movie minus the 2 cellies, you know, two inmates to 1 cell. It's pretty much bang on, you know. Was there violence in your life before you went in? Like, were you a violent person? No. Yeah, no, not too violent, pretty smiling and laid back, but no, I'd never really seen domestic violence or gang violence, or I never really seen blood or homemade weapons or bombs or, so you know, my parents were worried, you know, my friends that I had that were still waiting for me, they were worried. I was worried, but nonetheless, I made my bed. I had to lie in it, and you know.
So tell us a little bit more about that then, the first riot that you went through. Like, what was going through your head? Did you think this was the end? Were you like saying a prayer?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So you go down a hallway. You go down a really long hallway. It's called Blood Alley. It's just a small corridor. It's about 100 yards. That's kind of where you go from the cell block to the kind of the canteen area, and then the gym, and then how to get outside. And I just remember I didn't talk to too many people there. You know, the whole time I was there, I think I talked to maybe 3 or 4 people. That's it. But one of the dudes I
the whole time you were there,
yeah,
like the whole 4 years you were there.
The whole time I was there, I just kept to myself. And the one guy I did talk to was telling me about, this is Blood Alley. This is where guys like take care of their shit, you know, collect their debts or stab people or whatever. And so right away, I'm in this Blood Alley, and I just want to get out. I just want to get to wherever we're going, right? It was like my first time, I think, going to get canteen. Mm-hmm. And yeah, next thing I know, like sirens are going off, and these guys are beating each other up in the gym, and the loudest siren you could hear. And I mean, the craziest shit you could see, man. I'm talking like guys pulling out toothbrushes and guys in the gym beating people up with dumbbells. And I'm talking like guards storming in with body armor and hoses and batons. And, you know, I ran to the bathroom, and I still remember this. I was scared. I ran to the bathroom, and only the shitters would have like a small door on it, not even a full door, just kind of a half door.
Yeah.
And I'm just wedged up against the wall, like trying to keep these guys in who are just trying to like literally pull me out and
for I don't, no reason at all.
Beat me up or sexual assault me or whatever. They're just trying to get to this guy. I don't even care. It's just riots were like, they were just like, it was bedlam. Like that was the first time I saw one. I stayed in the bathroom till they kind of got the prison under control, and then it's locked down. Everybody's to their ranges, to their cells, like
just business as usual.
Just business as usual for those guys. But that would be the first time, you know, even to answer your question, you know, that's the first time you really know where you are. Like you're not at home anymore. You're not in Kansas anymore. You're not anywhere where you're even comfortable. Like, you know, I came from the suburbs, man. Like, you know, I came from a family who taught me about morals and values and honesty and truths and working for a living. So, you know, this is out of my element. I always say, like my pastor always says, Jose, I was like a domesticated house animal I was a domesticated house pet that just got
thrown into the wild.
And just the fact that I survived that, you know, even a couple nights ago, I was reflecting about this, like if we're going to talk about it or whatever.
Yeah.
To have made it through that, I think back on it, right? I got a part in, I don't have to tell anybody. This is just me trying to help people. But like to just even know I made it through that, like I did it to myself. I mean, I'm not telling people go do this.
You think you were naive?
Yeah.
Like even when you started working with that or those people and moving the substances and you had no idea, did you?
No, I had no idea. And then, you know, even being so naive, like you don't think these things through, right? Like if you get arrested or you get a criminal record or how this is going to impact your life when you come home, you know? And it was almost, like I said, coming home was a whole nother mission. It was a whole nother job, right? You're surviving, you get out of there doing everything you can to be really, you either go to jail and either get better or you get worse. You either get crewed up with a gang or you don't. You either get hooked on drugs or you stay clean. You either take all the programming to be the best guy you can be, to rehabilitate, to learn so it doesn't happen again, or you don't. I had 2 choices, right? 1, go all in, or 2, figure this out and change, because I wasn't in jail more than 5 months, and you could have let me out and that would have been
I'm good.
That would have been it, because I'm
going to work at Home Depot.
Yeah, I'm a free bird. I like to spread my wings. I need to be out. I need to be moving. I need to be grooving. And, you know, I did it to myself. I took accountability, but that's where the light went on, is when you're there, you're seeing all that shit and you're just like, oh my God, like this isn't me, man. You know, like guys are trying to, you know, get you in the shower room. Guys are trying to get you in the gym room. Like don't look to the right. Don't look to the left. Don't say please. Definitely don't say thank you. Definitely don't say sorry. You know, those are the 3 words you don't even use there. You know, please, thank you, sorry. Don't even bother saying that shit there. Otherwise, it's a sign of weakness, right? Don't take anything from anybody either, you know, because that's a whole nother ball game. So
yeah.
Prison's crazy, man. A lot of people get it twisted. They think, you know, in Canada, it's not that scary. It's fucking scary, man. It's, you know, white kid from the burbs, man. You know, you end up in prison. It's
not saying sorry in prison is tough for Canadians, I'm sure. We like to say sorry.
Well, I like to say please. I like to say thank you. I like to say sorry. I'm a polite guy, so it was tough.
Yeah.
Like you have to literally change everything about who you are when you're there, and then can you change back when you come home? You know,
Change back to what?
just say you got to adapt, right? You know, you got to
Yeah.
adapt to this environment you're in. So you kind of chameleon to the environment, right?
Yeah.
You're swearing more, you're talking a little bit more rougher, you're not as polished, you know, then you come home and you got to snap back to reality. You know, when I came home, I had a hard time adjusting. You know, I didn't talk about it openly for a long time.
Yeah.
And I probably buried this shit.
Does your family know about your experiences now? Or
Yeah. They know now. I mean, I probably buried some of this when I first came home, and this is trauma that I probably secretly dealt with over 20 years, but you have to change when you come home. You know, I'm scared to turn the light on. I'm scared to shut the door. Large groups of people, you know, give you anxiety. You're swearing more. You're kind of rougher around, you're at the dinner table. You're talking rougher. Your mom's not understanding. Your friends don't understand you. They don't even want to look at you. You know, everybody's judging you. You know, you go to your aunties for Christmas, they're locking up the silverware. It's seriously like that. You know, I did it to myself. And like you said, naive would be like one of the words I would use, you know, because you don't think about all those things when you're in it, when you're doing it. You're not, I mean, I think it took me 10 years after the fact to even just get respect back, just to get,
think of your family,
just everybody, you know, friends, family, peers, haters, lovers, everybody, you know, like it's.
Do you think your ignorance before going in, do you think it was willful to a certain extent?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
So did you ever have to defend yourself?
Yeah, no, I had to defend myself lots. I mean, there was a time I was in there, I was showering, and, you know, I'll keep the details to a brief, but yeah, like it's scary there. You know, guys try to sexually assault you, you know, you got a toothbrush to your throat, a situation, and you got to, you know, act fast. So yeah, I had to defend myself a couple times to that, you know, thankfully it got to,
damn these good looks of mine.
Thankfully I was able to come away unscathed, you know, maybe some more mental damage just from some of the things you might have had to do, tussle or whatever. But I had to defend myself numerous times. There'd be times I'm going to work and, you know, 3 guys would roll on me, or it's a violent place. You know, I always say there's the very bottom of the barrel, and that, you know, it'd be right, kind of right where I would consider it. You know, it's just every day, Daniel, you know, you got to be sharp. You got to have your wits on your shoulders. You know, it's because it's coming. Something, just because somebody's having a bad day, they had a bad call, they had a bad whatever, someone's doing life, they don't care. You're pretty, whatever. Yeah. You looked at them funny. Your eye just happened to lock their eye and they didn't like it. Yeah. So yeah, I defended myself probably like the first 18 months was pretty much like I'm getting my feet into the routine and trying to just balance everything. But you know, the last half of my sentence was fairly good. And then once I got to minimum security was where it was really easy for me. I was outside the prison walls. I'm in the riverbed antics. It's kind of like 10 houses outside the prison. You're allowed to kind of walk around more freely. Yeah. You can wear regular clothes. Like you don't have to wear the cork cans, I call them, like the green and blue. So, I mean, once I got out of that medium security, prison was a little bit easier. I mean, it's still prison. You don't want to go. But once I got to like minimum security, I worked my way down and out. It was good.
Did you ever, were there ever any times where you thought you weren't going to make it out of prison?
Yeah. It was really, I don't even, you know, it's tough sometimes to go back, you know, but it was just a anxiety through the roof. You know, you're depressed through the roof. You're fighting all that mental stuff off. You're trying to keep relationships going outside. You don't want people to come and visit you. You know, you're trying to just do your time and do everything you can to get through it.
Why don't you want people to come visit you?
Well, I had a really old school mentality. Like I went to prison, man. Like I didn't go to prison to have people like sending me money or, you know, coming down and visiting me and bringing me cakes and shit. You know, like I screwed up. I went to prison and I wanted to learn
So it was a shame thing then?
Well, I wanted to learn a lesson, man. I don't know about a shame thing or not. I didn't go like, I wanted to just do my time. I wanted to suffer through it.
You wanted to suffer to the maximum.
Yes. I wanted to redline that suffering. Well, really, I didn't want people to see me there. I didn't want people sending me money. I wanted to go do my time, come back a better person and just move on with it. You know, that wasn't like some people are having people bring them cakes and send them money and get them this, that, and the other. Like that, I screwed up. Nobody put me there. Why should they have to?
Did people come visit?
No.
No?
They wanted to come and visit.
I said no?
No. I wrote letters to, you know, my people out in the street, but no, I didn't have one visit. I didn't want to have a visit. I didn't want anybody to come and you know, I made it without having that, and something I just didn't want. I wasn't happy to be there. Like it was a really low Like, to answer your question, it was a really, really low time, and I didn't think I'd make it through. I didn't think I'd make it through. You know, I'm seeing people get killed. I'm seeing people get assaulted. I'm seeing just regular first-time offenders come in there and they're getting walked all over. I mean, it's tough when you're a first-time offender. You don't have a record. You don't have a jacket. You don't know, Eddie, Willie, Benny, Susan, so when you're just a fish in a big ocean of sharks, it's really fucking scary. And I mean, look at me, man. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's stuff in there. It wasn't easy. I was just a kid. So like I said, thankfully I learned the lesson, man. As much as a guy could learn a lesson, I learned it. And, I'd like to think I came out a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Tell us what it was like getting out. Now, it sounds like you had like a gradual progression or regression or whatever. Getting out, you went from maximum. Were you in maximum?
No, I was in medium security.
Okay.
Medium. Yeah, there's 3 tiers. There's maximum, which is you're out of your element. Medium is which just basically everybody goes, and then minimum is when you're not a security risk to take off.
So, was there any sort of coaching for you, any sort of preparation for you to get out into the real world? I mean, you experienced some pretty heavy shit by the sounds of things, man.
They get you ready. You got an institutional parole officer in there the whole time. So she's assigned to you. You meet with her once a week. You go over goals. You go over, if you're getting into trouble or institutional charges, things of that nature, programming, what you want to do, what got you there. You go through the whole motions kind of like this. What got you here? What do you want to see change? So they set you up from the beginning to succeed, to rehabilitate. The rest is up to you. They can only plant the seed. You got to be the one to water it and take care of it. But they get you ready. Closer, 6 months to a year when you're getting ready to get released, they kind of get you ready to get you out. But there's really no way to prepare a person to get out. I mean, the statistics are against you. Like, I think it's 70% of people that get released on parole, they're back within 2 months. They're back in jail. 37% of people who apply for a pardon actually get one. So it's they don't want. This isn't a conspiracy theory either, but this is what I've learned. They don't want you out; they want you in, because it's a money game. There's money in there. I think I think something there. Somewhere I read that it was like they're getting the government or the penal system or whatever. It's like $200 a head.
$200 a head a day.
Yeah. So I mean,
is there money in riots?
Well, I don't know, but there's jobs and money in it, and they don't want you. Like, maybe I'm coming from that side of the tracks, but I just, in my experience with cops and prison, and then even in outreach, the cops, the people in that game, they want to see you. They want to see you back in there. They're not pushing you to succeed. They're not telling you you're going to be great. You're going to, even my parole officer in there, Janice, she was always telling me I was going to be back. Like, oh yeah, you're a first timer now, but we'll see you, in 3 months. Like, you won't make it, and so
did that ever push you to be like, to like show them, like, fuck you?
Yeah. Well, everything since then's been pushing me, man. Since, since I got arrested at 19 and went to prison. I've had my foot on the floor. It's been about proving people wrong, showing the haters I'm sorry, or the people that I've wronged that, just forgive me. It's been everything, like taking a penance sort of to all my sins. Like, it's just rebuilding that whole road of everything, every relationship to make it right. Like,
what was it like getting out? You walked, like, there had to be a point where you opened the door and you fucking walked out.
So I'm in minimum security, so it's a little bit different, but you go, you clean up your room. Like, I was in a house with 4 other guys, so you get all your shit in your little box. Like, what you went into the prison with is in a checklist, so you have to leave with exactly what's in that checklist. So if you won a hat in a card game, like, it's gone. Like, if it's not on your property list, you ain't taking it.
Okay.
So you pack up your gear, you take it to the, I went to the admin house. It's just a house out there, so go to the administration house, and they just literally, long story short, go through all your property, checklist. Okay, sweater, jeans, wallet, whatever. Make sure you didn't like rob somebody or take their shit and you're stealing or whatever. So they make sure you got all your property.
So they can keep you in?
Yeah. So they can keep you in. And then they go through the money that you've made. Like, I saved all my money when I worked. So my 40 cents a day every day.
How much you come out with?
3,000, about 2,800 or something. I mean, 40 cents a day, 30 cents a day, added up over time. But yeah, I saved up all my money. I didn't go to the canteens much. I didn't go outside much. After the initial riot, I pretty much stayed on my block for my whole sentence. Just ate the meals that I was provided. But yeah, I asked them if they asked me if you want cash or check. I asked them for cash, just to kind of stick it to them. Like, yo, give me whatever you got in the lockbox. Like, hope this drains all your money. But And yeah, I walked out a door, and like my cousin Mike came to pick me up with my 3 other cousins. But yeah, I just remember saying to them, hey, it kind of stinks like beer in here, guys. What the hell? Like, oh yeah, we got a case in the trunk. And I'm like, I just got out of prison. What the fuck? Like, my cousin's like, oh, I don't even have my license, man. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, get me back to Regina. What the fuck?
Was there ever any allure, or did the old life try to come back?
Yeah, I got into a little bit of stuff. A little bit of stuff we didn't get to talk too much about in my interview, but yeah, I touched a little bit, back into some stuff briefly when I got out, just like a little bit of some trafficking. But that was more of a hiccup, and I say a cash grab. But yeah, I left that life in the dust, officially, I say 14 years ago or so, 15 years ago. I haven't like sold a drug or ran a bag or nothing like that. So
did you have to take a minute out?
No, I just, I was good with that relationship, and I know where you're going with that with the beats, but yeah, I was never, the good thing about these guys that I like, these criminal guys, like I wasn't inked in. I wasn't like officially stamped in. I think I always say that I was like, they called me baby powder. I don't know why they called me that. That was just my nickname. They called me baby powder.
I don't know why, but I can see it. I don't know why.
It makes sense. They called me baby powder. And I was the only white guy out of the group. There was blacks and a couple Asians and some natives, but I was that funky, fun, friendly guy that just
on the outside.
I just had that good vibe, and that's just kind of where my role was. And when I officially kind of said, like, I'm going to school, I want to, I'm doing some youth care worker stuff, I'm expecting a baby, I kind of want to dip out of this life.
Yeah.
They were cool. I mean, I can still call them, email them, if I needed something, they'd get it to me, but the relationships are still there. I just don't.
It's an interesting thing to have in your back pocket, my friend.
Yeah, they're there. I still talk to a couple of these guys through email or, phone call conversations, but they respected me and my vision, and they never, I didn't have to take minutes or buy my way out or anything like that. I mean, that was a good thing too. I made a conscious decision. I knew some guys that were bangers, they were in, like, yeah. And so I knew about minutes. I knew what would happen. You join a gang. It's pretty hard to get into one. It's even harder to get out.
Yeah.
And, there's only a couple ways out, and, I'm lucky I didn't get to that.
You started public speaking, and did you start working with youth right away? Like the reason, and what I'm trying to get at here is we talked earlier about how you didn't really see the front line. You didn't really see the chaos until you started working in the community. So did you feel when you actually started to see the extent of the carnage that was created as a result of actions that were like yours back in the day? Did you start to feel any shame or guilt, or what was that like the first time you came face to face with it?
Yeah, you feel shitty. You definitely knowing that you're getting substances and we'll say drugs or guns, you're getting it from point A to point B. Well, that's doing something to point B, and when you're seeing it and you're working with it and you're dealing with it firsthand, you definitely feel shitty about it. I mean, I don't like knowing that there was a time where, I sold some drugs or middleman some drugs or middleman some guns, or, I don't like knowing I did that shit. I don't like knowing I might have ruined Jesse or James' life or Lucy's or Susie's. It's just a matter of, you got to forgive yourself. You gotta find a balance to know that, hey, you fucked up, and all I can do is help people, man.
Yeah.
Now all I can do is help people by sharing my stories, or maybe talking their ear off, or using some of my education, or just being there for somebody. It's so shame, guilt, all that stuff comes, and like I was gonna say earlier, but like I ride my ass hard even to this day about it. My pastor, my girlfriend, my two best friends always say it. I'm my toughest critic. Yeah. I'm always mad about that I went to jail. I'm always mad that I had 20 years of shit work. I'm always mad that I had to struggle so hard to get this far. Yeah. And at some point you just gotta let it go and forgive yourself, and know that you're doing everything. You're doing everything that you can. Like, I'm doing everything I physically can do, and mentally and emotionally, to be the best man, father, friend, son, dad to my daughter, and help people, assisting, supporting, advocating. I can't do it all for them, but I can help plant seeds. I can help with resources. I can help with phone numbers. I can just be there to listen.
Sounds to me like you became a father not too long after you left prison.
Yeah, not too long after,
So what was that? Tell us about that. I mean, you went from being in prison and all of those terrible things that we talked about, and now you are in a relationship, and I don't know, maybe you weren't in a relationship. But...
Well, it was a pretty toxic relationship, but
okay,
it was more of a street-based relationship, but she gave me a beautiful daughter, and we met. We knew each other over 3 years. I'll keep the real particulars, not on here in case my kid's listening, but I love you, by the way, kid. But yeah, she was into some shit, and we had a relationship over 3 years. I don't really know what it was, but she was one of my best friends, and you know, we had a kid, and her name's Regina, and she's amazing, and she's kicking ass at Sheldon, and she's in grade 10, and you know, I love her to pieces. I got her full time, and it's there's no book to being a parent with two parents or a single parent. I mean, there's no book to it, and you know, they get to a certain age, there's no manual. But yeah, I had her a couple years out of jail, and just made up my mind that I would just do everything I could legally.
Is that when you made the decision to like completely step away?
Yeah, that was when it just kind of, you know, whatever might have carried over when I got released would have just been kind of a residual carryover, I say. But yeah, once Virginia, like once we knew she was coming into the world, her mom was into some shit and she's still into it, and I just made a decision that, you know, being in prison was enough for me, and I probably shouldn't have made these 2 or 3 choices outside of prison after. And I shut it pretty much down. I've been pretty much like a legal tax-paying, hardworking citizen, you know, since she's been around. And, you know, I thank her for that. You know, who knows where I'd be if I didn't have her either. You know, maybe I would have kept down
the path,
kept trickling or in and out of jail. But yeah, the minute I held her and one of her eyes kind of opened, it was more of like a pirate eye, and I fell in love with her. There was some complications, so her mom didn't get to see her for, you know, a day or two after, but I got to spend, you know, a good straight, you know, two days straight with her, when mostly it'd be mom time. And I just made up my mind that it didn't matter if, you know, I had to pound concrete or work at the gas station. It was just, I can't ever put myself in a situation where I won't be here for her.
When we remove behavior from our lives and we change our ways, typically we have to find something to replace it with. Like my friend ran T different. And if we're talking about addiction here, and this will cross reference maybe, when you take something away from someone, you have to give them something back. Yeah. So what did you replace that lifestyle with?
Well, I got into making, like, I DJ. I'm not like a bar DJ, or people aren't making requests for me, but I got into DJing, you know, to keep me out of trouble. You know, like we were talking about earlier, like, you know, too much time on your hands is the devil's playground. So I needed to get a couple hobbies, obviously. And I love music. It's saved my life on more than one occasion. Yeah. And so I got into DJing and just bought a MacBook Pro. And like you know, I went and bought a MacBook Pro. I went and bought some turntables, taught myself how to DJ, and, you know, pretty active guy. I like the beach. I like camping. I like talking, and I like, you
doing
know,
podcasts now.
Yeah, coming on podcasts, and I'm working on a book. But I mean, yeah, like I just
working on a book.
Just wanted to replace. I was good at criminal stuff, and I replaced it with being good at dad stuff. And you know, I became a painter along the way too. So I'm a good painter. I'm a good dad, and I can.
What do you mean, painter? Like artistically, or painting houses?
Just houses, just fences and decks and shit. But I just replaced those with some healthy habits, and I just, you know, like I like to paint. I like to hang out with friends and family. I like to tell my story and help people, and you know, like, yeah, I just replaced the shitty habit with a good one. You know, you always replace bad habits with healthy ones, and you know, give them the water and the sunlight they need, and hopefully, you know, hopefully you make it out.
You're a single parent.
Yeah.
How long's that been a thing?
It's been an ongoing thing for 15 years now. So
really,
yeah. So had her for a good chunk of her life as a baby. Mom wasn't around, and then mom kind of came back around, and I didn't want to be that guy to. I didn't want to be the guy to kind of hold her back. Like I made sure she was clean and sober and had a head on her shoulders, and kind of let her get back into her mom's life a little bit. And they were getting a relationship going, and then just for whatever reason, you know, it's all me. It's all me again now. So been doing it a while now, and her mom's not in the picture, and you know, we're fine with that, you know, and we're just working it out, and that's it.
I was a single dad for a year and a half after I got sober. Yeah. And then Donna came back, and it's been a dance, man. Let me tell you. Yeah. I mean, I don't need to tell you, but it was a dance. But I mean, we're both in a good place now, in a better place. You know, we still have our days, we still have our weeks or whatever, but like, yeah. So what's the big, like for you as a single parent, recovering from a lifestyle, I would say.
Yeah. I think that was more my addiction, more, you know, wasn't really drugs, more of a lifestyle, like money, power, respect was more of my addiction. I mean, money,
ego,
money's an addiction too. You know, I mean,
of course
gold
it
teeth
is.
are addiction too, but it was more possessions, more materials, right? You see my closet at home, you know what I'm talking about. But that wasn't more substance, more lifestyle, but an addiction's an addiction nonetheless. But
so where did you, our mutual friend, Rob Krauser, tell us about how you met him.
Yeah, we played in a basketball tournament together. That's kind of where our relationship started, was through basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And just had the craziest pickup games at lunch, that you could possibly have, where you want to go home and shower after, but you got 3 hours of school left.
Because you're too close to Rob?
Yeah.
Did you feel dirty?
Just the craziest pickup games, man. And then, he tattooed me a little bit over the years. And then, life gets a hold of you. He's working on school. He's got family stuff, things going on in his life, my life. And then ran into him, just kind of touched back connection with him this summer. I was working at an encampment in Regina doing some outreach work. I obviously knew he got his degree already, and I knew he had been doing big things in the community. And for an organization he started, I think. But he's been a huge supporter of mine. He knows a little bit about what I went through. I've known what he's went through. He's always been a really good supporter and a positive influence, role model, someone I can talk to, even about being nervous about coming on here.
Yeah.
So Rob's a great guy, great tattoo artist, social worker. He's doing big things in the community, and
you mentioned encampments. Now that's a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
The homelessness in Saskatchewan and across Canada, and I'm sure
Everywhere.
abroad. I'm sure
it's
everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but tell us a little bit about, with your experiences being on the other side of things, coming into this now, seeing, what's it like for you working in a homeless encampment where you're face to face with all of this stuff?
It's well, first off, it's eye opening. It makes you count your blessings. It doesn't matter really what you're going through. I don't ever complain much. I definitely don't now. Yeah. But the struggle's out there, man, and it could happen to anybody. You could have a job one day, and the next day you lost your job, and now you can't pay your mortgage, and the bank takes your house, and you're fucking homeless. I met people there that were living on the street 10 years, 1 year. I met a lady who had a job at the government.
Really?
She's living in a tent. I mean,
Wow.
It's all kinds of people. People want to say they're just this type of person or that type of person or stereotype or this, that, or whatever, but it's just a really eye-opening thing. It's sad. It's scary. You want to help everybody. There's not enough resources in Saskatchewan. I don't think there's enough homeless shelters. I don't think there's enough single men's shelters.
Single men's shelters.
There's lots for battered women. There's lots for women, but there's just not a lot of resources. So
there's actually not a lot. Well, maybe not in Saskatoon. I'm not as familiar with Regina's scene, but in Saskatoon they actually had one, and my wife Donna, she stayed at it for a while, Mumford House.
Yeah.
And they ended up shutting it down and turning it into a men's shelter.
Right.
Yeah. So and I'm not to say who needs them more. I'm not. Here to have that argument,
that's just what I've seen, and I think we need more shelters. We need more funding from the government. It's like I said, I can't. I'm not a problem. So I can't fix everybody's problems. I always say I try to assist and support and advocate, and man, sometimes people just want to talk, man. Sometimes somebody just had a really bad day and they just need to talk.
Yeah.
But it helps me get in the door looking this way. I mean, the tattoos, the chain, the hat.
Absolutely.
I can talk really professional, or I can talk street. I know I could go into a bank meeting right now, get my line of credit raised and be professional there, and then take my shirt off and I'm in an encampment. I mean, and when people get to know me, I think that's why I'm going to be successful, and I've been successful. I think that's what opens doors. People will let me into their tent, or people will let me into their situation, because I wasn't just a guy who learned out of a textbook. I didn't just take a loan out and
go to school.
Yeah, and I think that's why the social workers are burning out so much in Regina, the government social workers, they're fresh out of high school, they go to university, they got no lived experience, they're living at home with their parents in West Hill or in the suburbs, and then 2 years into the job, well, they're done, they're burnt out. 15 years ago, you needed people like this. Yeah. Now it seems like it's 5 times what it was then.
Yeah.
But they want to make sure you have a checklist of things off first, don't have a record, don't have a tattoo, don't carry a backpack, have a briefcase. Well, what?
You should almost need those things. That should be a prerequisite.
I think so.
It's straight up here in Saskatoon. You can't work with straight up if you don't have a record.
And I think that, like I say with Rob, he kind of lucked out and he was able to get past that without getting a pardon. I kind of needed to get a pardon. You just either can get through a door or you can't. And it just took me longer to get in. And I always tell people, this isn't a job I'm doing for paychecks. It's a passion job. I don't want to see a 19-year-old in prison. I don't want to see a guy fighting off of a raping in the bathroom. I don't want a guy to have to stab somebody to survive. I don't want somebody trafficking guns or drugs, because it ruins lives and puts them in a bad spot and the other people. That's why I feel like such an honest, open book at this stage in my life, right? I want to help people, and hey man, whatever. I mean, One of my clients was homeless for a year, and I got him a house, and like he was still going to the encampment because he wasn't used to sleeping at home.
You had to sleep. I know, I've heard that before
And
too.
so then I had to we had to work through it, right? And when he finally comes around and like, Aaron, thank you.
Mhm.
Like, you got me housed, you got me breaking these habits, you got me in a life skills program.
Yeah.
You got me off of hard drugs. I'm smoking marijuana now to get off hard drugs. Like, you kind of led me in that path. Like, when you hear these good things, that's payment for me.
Yeah.
Like,
How do you feel about the way that the cities are handling the homeless encampments?
well, they kicked everybody out of City Hall. I know that much. City Hall almost went up on fire, but
Oh, tell us about that.
I don't know much. I just know that, yeah, we were helping encampments at the City Hall, and like our boss told us all to like avoid the encampments the one day, because I guess like the fire department and the city and the police were like collaborating together to like kick everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, they found shotguns there, and like there were some sexual assaults that happened at that encampment, and there's not enough shelters, there's not enough housing, there's not enough, even housing. Like, even a guy like me who wants to move houses can't move houses. There's a shortage of housing. There's a shortage of affordable housing. The CIS and SED program, they've changed all their programs there. They're not giving landlords checks. They've made it tougher on people.
Yeah.
Because they won't send checks to the landlord. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many things, like life skills classes should be getting taken, like financial classes should be taken, money management. Like, there's just so many things. It's a broken problem. How are you going to fix it if you're just running around the same circle?
Mm-hmm.
But there's encampments everywhere in Regina. They're everywhere. They're in alleys. They're in between houses. They're outside of businesses. Like, if you have a garage in an alley, say off of 11th Avenue and 18th Avenue, like, there's going to be an encampment there. There's going to be a tent there. If there's an empty lot, it's going to be an encampment. There's going to be a tent.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what the fire inspector said about wanting to work with those
And connect them with resources.
Yeah,
And,
like,
and quite honestly,
I like that.
Well, I like the sound of it. I found and Chief Hackle, if you're watching,
Yeah.
just gonna say, I was a little bit put off by him not having any statistic as to what happens when the people are past that. They connect them with resources. Then what happens? Did it work? Was it successful? And he didn't seem to know.
And that's the same thing with addiction, right? There's not enough like resources and things. Like, you get someone off of drugs, okay, they're clean. They're out of wherever they are. 2 weeks they've been clean. They're on the street again. There's nowhere for them to live. There's no program for them to sign up on. There's no safe house or clean house or sober house. There's nothing.
Yeah.
So you're essentially just sending them back out. Like, that's why it's like putting a guy in a rowboat with one oar.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep going around and around and around. That's even just getting somebody housed. It's a full-time job.
Well, and keeping them housed.
It's a full-time job.
They don't typically, and maybe I'm wrong here because maybe I'm not educated, because the demographic of people who are unhoused is changing over these past couple of years as inflation is going up, as the cost of housing is going up. But a lot of these people, a lot of people, they didn't find themselves homeless because they had impeccable life skills. So giving them a house isn't like just giving them a house. Here, go here. That's not the solution.
Well, it's just
in
like
itself.
I said. It's just like I said with my one client. Really great guy. On the ball, on time, but like, he's so used to being on the street that he doesn't even sleep at his house.
Yeah, I heard that. I had a guy on a couple months ago.
So you have to
said the same thing. He had to go and sleep under an underpass. He couldn't sleep. It was too quiet. It was too
it's like it's getting them. It's just educating and giving people skills and knowledge and information and twining it all together so they have all that so they can be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the housing problem is it's ridiculous.
And it's being portrayed in the media as very topical. Like, the problem is that these people aren't living places.
No, it's not that. It's
not the problem.
It's everything, man. It's everything. It's drugs, it's alcohol, it's mental health, it's job security, it's the cost of everything. Everything's going up. Everything. Like, a 1-bedroom apartment in Regina is $1,200, man. I mean, come on. Like, so someone on the CIS program, they get $700, they can afford that.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but sometimes it's just so they can't get places. They're just gonna go sleep outside. I mean, what else are they going to do?
Yeah, they have to put, this is physics, their body has to go somewhere.
I mean, if I couldn't get a house and I was homeless, I'd do the same
Well,
thing.
what else would you do?
What else would I do? I'd find a quiet place somewhere where I can blend in and I can get in.
And breathe air.
Sleep, and then maybe at the end of the day, I'm unpacking it and it looks normal again and whatever. But and the city's doing everything to get rid of that. There's a place in Regina on the Ring Road, lots of trees, lots of overgrown stuff. And like, they're even going to lengths where they're like paying people, like subbing out work to people to like remove trees and hedges and shrubs and all this money that they could be using for something towards that.
Yeah.
They're like doing everything they can to like, oh, let's cut these trees down so someone can't hide in there.
So where are they gonna go?
I don't know.
And that's what I kind of
alleys and on the street, man.
I had a
Alleys and on the
lawyer.
street.
I had a law professor in here a few weeks ago. Maybe you watched that episode
Yep.
with Benjamin Perrin.
Yep.
And he was talking about, like, because I asked him, like, where are these people supposed to go? You're removing everywhere. They have to exist. And Ben said, and he's like, I'm not so sure they want them to.
No, they don't. It would just be much easier if everybody would just wash I hate to say it, but they just want to wash their hands of the problem. They want to pretend it's not there. It's like what you were asking me 15 years ago if I saw all the damage I was doing.
Yeah.
Well, my eyes were glued shut still. I didn't want to see the problem.
Yeah.
When you open your eyes and see it, well, then you want to do everything you can to avoid it, right? Like I'm donating man, I drive around in my fucking car with towels and blankets and sheets and sweaters, and I fucking hand them out to people, man.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not at work, man.
Yeah.
Because I've peeled back the layers of the onion and I see there's a problem. I want to do whatever I can to help.
Mm-hmm.
I can't change it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get a $2 million grant and get a building. And maybe I'd like to do that. Maybe we need a men's 24-hour place where people can drop in and they get a night and they sign some papers or whatever. I mean, but there has to be a bigger picture. There has to be a plan and a bigger picture. And everybody's got to be willing to do it, right? It's not going to fix itself overnight. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I just do whatever I can. I mean, if I could put people up, I would put them up. But what can you do? Where do your resources end, right?
What do you say to your daughter about this?
I tell her it's a real problem, and she's seen like we've been to Vancouver, we went down East Hastings, and like it's sad. It's the world, She's asked me about it, but like I teach her, I don't know how this will sound, but I teach her, your job's going to school, get good grades, get good life skills. I show her how to handle money. I teach her how to pay bills. There's a difference between wants and needs, quality over quantity. And I just, if you need help with anything, I tell my kid, like drugs, talk to me. Alcohol, talk to me. Peer pressures, talk to me. Sex, talk to me. I might not like all the shit I'm hearing. Yeah. But I can't
imagine. I have a 5-year-old daughter right now, and that just like made my toenails curl.
I just don't. And like, look, man, 2 weeks ago, I had to sit my daughter down and tell her I went to fucking prison.
Oh, she didn't know before 2 weeks ago?
No. So, I mean.
Did you tell her because you were coming on here and she was going to hear it?
No, I told her because she's 15. Okay. I'll leave it at that. I won't air out her laundry, but she's just 15 and some things have been presented and choices that you've had to make. And she says to me, who the fuck are you, Dad? Like, you're just a textbook dad. Uh-huh. You're just a textbook dad.
Wow. That's a compliment.
And so it was, but I took it out as a bit of a slight. And so, I got, just some questionable shit, 15-year-old stuff and nothing bad, but I gotta look out for my kid, man.
Yeah.
And I just decided, I talked to my girlfriend, talked to my pastor, and I was playing around with wanting her to know some of it. I finally just had to tell her, like, I ain't a textbook dad. I went to prison. I screwed up. I used to do some illegal shit. Like, I've seen guys get shot at. I've been shot at. I've been stabbed and left for dead. Like, I don't want you in prison, kid. She doesn't need to know all my life, but I don't want her to make those mistakes and those choices. If I can tell her my struggle to help her avoid her struggle. So yeah, to answer your question, what do I tell my daughter? Everything as of 2 weeks ago, because I don't want her to make these mistakes. I want her to know that she has me. It's a safe place. I'm always here for her. I'm never going to judge her because look, I was judged. I'm still judged. Yeah. I still get profiled still to this day. I went for a massage the other day. I took my shirt off. This lady, I swear to God, like you could hear a mouse fart. Like she didn't even want to touch me, man. So I just tell her everything that I can to help her. Yeah. She's going to make mistakes. She's going to mold her statue the way she's going to mold it. Yeah. But if I can avoid her tripping on some of those logs or scraping her knees the way I did, then I will. And hopefully learn from your experience. I think sharing some of that stuff's helped her, but at the end of the day, it's her. I always tell her, like with my clients, I can only give you information and show you where everything is. I can help you plant the seeds. I can help you hold the dirt up and get the soil all ready. Yeah. But you got to be the one to water it and take care of it. And I'm an analogy guy. Yeah. I always find some sort of a weird fucking analogy. She always says that to me. Oh, Dad, you have analogies for everything. And it's like, yeah, you want to be a solo wolf, you want to be a turtle, whatever.
Yeah, that's my flex now.
That's my flexes. I try to you can only do so much, right? And you'll see that as your daughter grows up. But if I can just avoid anything,
awesome,
by sharing with her, that's what I try to do. And so far, so good. She's not on drugs. She's not drinking. She's not pregnant. 90 average. Never missed a day of class this year. So far, so good.
Yeah. Anyone out there living the life that you once lived? Anything that you'd like to leave us with today? A good analogy, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. I just think that, you know, if you're out there struggling or maybe you don't know if you have anybody to talk to, or your parents aren't the coolest, or your best friend doesn't seem like they care, or you feel alone, just know you're not. You know, there's numbers you can call, there's agencies you can go into, there's nonprofits you can drop in and pop by. You can Google me, find me, reach out to me or whatever. But I just say that, you know, there's two ways out of a criminal life, and it's you're in jail or you're dead. I mean, that's I'm one of the few that could say, oh, I got out of jail, I changed my life, I fixed everything, you know. But I would just say, you know, you're not alone, and there's always somebody there to help, but you just got to kind of swallow your pride and ask for it. That was my biggest issue, is I never reached out for help. I didn't talk to anybody about like my fears or my problems inside or how I was thinking. And I think, you know, if I would have had that, maybe would have saved some elements. But yeah, you're not alone. There's people out there, and you know, to get to the sunny beach, you got to go through a little bit of the mud, right? And I mean,
yeah. Thanks so much for joining me today, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Daniel. Right. Thank you so much.
Take care. If you got something out of today's episode, drop us a like. If you haven't yet subscribed to us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. We go live every Friday morning, every Sunday evening on YouTube. If you don't have time to sit around and watch us for an hour, you can catch all our audios on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a review. Give us a 5-star rating. Help us grow. That's all I got for you today. Take care, everyone.
Say, this is Hard Knocks Talks.